Alright, everybody. Welcome back to another This Week at Bungie on November 11th. It is TWAB number 12. We are in the 12th week of Season of the Lost, as things are going to get a little bit spicy today. We have a long TWAB, so let's just dive right in. Jamal is here, Tyrant, so say hello.
Hi ho.
Alright. Starting right off the bat, we have a Transgender Awareness Week coming in. And with that, the Transgender Day of Remembrance on the 20th to memorialize the lives lost to the transphobic hate, violence, and they recognize the hardships this community faces. They invite everyone in the community to join them in remembrance by donning this new emblem using the code ML3-FD4-ND9 on the Code Redemption website, and you get yourself this new code. And the new emblem. Usually for these ones you have to buy the pin, and you end up getting it with the pin. However, this one is mixed with the Pride pin, so with the month of November, all profits from the sales of the Bungie's Pride pin will benefit Trans Lifeline in support of their efforts to provide peer support to trans people in crisis through respectful, anonymous, and confidential communication and resources. So an absolutely fantastic cause. If you don't have the Pride pin already, definitely go check it out. It's in the store, and otherwise go to your code redeem where you normally go to redeem this code. I'll pop it up on the screen for you guys as well, and as well leave it in the description, so definitely go redeem that. Moving on back to Trials, we have the Trials Labs back again with Capture Zone. It's still elimination, however they took feedback from last week, so the map this time is going to be Endless Vale. It's a bit of a larger map, and rather than the rotating points that gives one team a significant location advantage, i.e. the flag is literally at the spawn, no longer will that be happening. The flags will be rotating through 3 neutral zones. Players will also no longer get super energy from capturing a zone, so that won't be in there either. Aside from that, it's the exact same capture zone as it was before. You can either eliminate the entire enemy team, or you can capture the zone once it's available 30 seconds after the round starts to win the round. And Trials Flawless Pool will be active on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific, and keep an eye on that. Aside from that, it is 2 times Trials rank booster all weekend, and that's it. As far as I know, it's the Reed's Regret, and with some of the updates coming for the linear fusion rifles, definitely grab yourself one of those. Any thoughts?
I don't have a whole lot to say about Trials at this point in time, only because we've seen this mode come back. Happy that they're making every zone neutral this go around, but I don't know. I'm kind of
have to test it and see, right?
Yeah, like it's just one of those things where you play by ear, see what it looks like. I'm gonna hop in a little later just to see. I don't care about going flawless or anything like that, so
yeah,
I'm just gonna
kind of
take
see
a
how
look,
it feels.
see what it's all about. Yeah, just see if it's any good or not. Plus, I still have to get my palindrome adept, so that's kind of where my head is at.
Yeah, go for that Grandmaster this week. So.
Yeah, I'm not too interested in Trials this week.
Fair enough. Moving on, we have the 30th anniversary coming up quick with the new dungeon and cool rewards. There's not the only thing that's being added. They're making a hefty tuning pass to weapons and perks. They've still got a little bit of time before these changes go live on December 7th, but they want to have some transparency here, so they are going to go over the some of the changes here that are going live on December 7th. Right off the bat, shotguns in Season 11. They wanted to see if slugs could be viable in PvE with high enough reward for the risk being close and the time it takes to aim at the head. Good news is they're viable, which we all know because they literally took over the meta for most bosses, especially the raid boss for the Deepstone Crypt.
The season before, to kill Templar, you had to use double slug shotgun, so
there you go. So they are currently outclass the pellet shotguns and many other special ammo options, not to mention being part of a dominant boss melting tactic. They'd like to equalize this a bit. However, since pellet shotguns are easier to use than slug shotguns, they don't need a large bump. So they reduced slug shotgun PvE damage bonus from 30% to 20%, and they gave pellet shotguns a 10% PvE damage bonus. So we'll see how that is. The slug going from 30 to 20 might be a bit much. That's But we'll have to see what the numbers say. And same thing with the pellet shotguns, how much damage you can get in with the rapid firing of it and reload speed in terms of the headshots. So it's just one of those things that, like, with all these buffs that we're going to be going over, it's going to be a lot of, you basically just kind of have to test it and see how it feels. It's because sometimes a number may seem like a drastic drop, like 10% might seem like a drastic drop on paper, but it really doesn't feel that way when you play it, right?
I mean, in all honesty, at this stage of the game, especially with how PvE kind of works now, there is no reason for anyone to feel frightened in any shape or form, because let's keep it a stack. It's the artifacts that make the weapon at this point. So unless they decide to change up the entire model of how they go about their PvE content, you're just going to have to wait for that artifact mod for the month, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. There's always those specific artifact mods that are just overpowered for the season, like with Breach and Clear with the grenade launcher. We had Oppressive Darkness with the Void grenades that just 30% buff to everything.
Yeah, like it was just ridiculous. In this current sandbox, like
for this year one, the particle accelerator or repeater, which one of the two?
Particle deconstruction.
Deconstruction. Yes.
Accelerator was another season.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a great perk. Does very similar feature, and you basically kind of build your PvE around that. I know I've been using a linear fusion rifle all season, and my threaded needle with Vorpal has not come off my heavy slot pretty much all year. Or sorry, not all year, all season, along with the Cartesian.
I mean, I got 1K, so yeah.
Hey, there you go. Still haven't gotten it yet. Hopefully, maybe this week or next week. Moving on, we got linear fusion rifles. They did already bump these up, but long story short, they're increasing the PvE damage by 10%, which I think is fantastic, because I honestly don't think it was necessarily needed. They said they're extra hot right now because of the particle deconstruction mod. However, when that does stop, it will drop off a bit. So perhaps they're just kind of getting it pre-tuned for Witch Queen, and for the next season. But it's just a flat damage.
I don't
buff.
necessarily agree with that, bro. Because think about it. I get that we get the buff and whatever, but what particle deconstruction really does is just creates a crit spot everywhere. You don't need divinity to make the weapon do its precision damage, right? But as long as you still have like Vorpal, firing line, boss spec, big one spec, like you're still gonna be cranking damage. It's just now you have to land precision blows, and then
it also increases
one person just has to use divinity
per shot, up to 5 shots, not just the making it like everywhere's a crit spot. It also does increase the damage 5 times.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry.
So
it's basically just going to be what it is now.
Potentially. I don't know. I still think that the particle deconstruction is still going to be higher at the end of the day without this 10% buff. But the 3 months that we're going to have this 10% buff plus deconstruction, they're going to be fine. Bosses are going to be melted even faster.
Yeah.
Unless someone else changes.
Getting one phase.
Yeah, so moving on, we have the caster swords. These have not been in the greatest shape. They said they shipped this with a high heavy attack ammo cost to offset the great melee weapon that has a good range, but they believe it's safe to reduce the ammo cost, so the heavy attack went from 8 to 5. So it won't chunk up as much of your heavy ammo now. I don't really use the caster swords. I have both of them, or if we're not including the exotic, if we're just talking about the Solar Scar and the, I don't remember the name of the other one.
Temptation's Hook?
Yes. That sounds about right.
I was like, what is that thing called again? I was having a brain fart and a half.
Right? So, yeah.
I don't know. Sure. As soon as I see the sword, I just scrap it. So even if they buff it, I'm still not going to use it unless it's going to do some crazy amount of PvE damage to bosses.
Yeah,
I don't really care.
I kept a couple in the vault with the good rolls just for the day that they
only
make
kept my
viable.
adept one.
But yeah. Moving on, we have bows. They bumped up bow damage to 10% versus rank and file enemies in Season 11, and they have seen this in the game for a few seasons now, and they believe it's safe to nudge it up again. So they increase the damage to rank and file enemies once again by 10%. So your bow should be those single goblins and whatnot. You should definitely be one tapping now with the bow, but it's not to the sense that it's overpowered in any way. So I like that a lot, especially with the bow having like the overload for the artifacts this season, and you're having it on for some of the higher content. I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I'm for all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Sidearms and fusion rifles. Due to an ancient data entry, sidearms and fusion rifle projectiles were non-hit scan. Behind the scenes, the engine does math converting a projectile from a non-hit scan to hit scan if it would cover a specific distance in one frame. So this would only occur if running at 60 frames or higher. Shout out to a specific community that provided us the evidence of this issue. You know who you are. Increased sidearm and fusion rifle projectile speed from 999 to 9,999, which makes them hit scan regardless of the frame rate. So, I actually was only aware of this the other day when I believe you told me that things weren't hitting right at the certain frames. So, that's great that they already have a fix for that very quickly. So, moving on. We have exotics. So we're going to be going over a bunch of exotics here, starting off with the Vex Myth class. They say straight off the bat that they overbuffed this a little bit. So they're reducing the aim assist stat by 25. The linear fusion rifle mode aim assist cone scaler from 1.1 to 1.05. And it now requires 3 eliminations for a full overcharge for the linear shot instead of 2. I like this. I don't know if it's necessarily going to fix how oppressive it can feel. Like I said, this thing is you can definitely battle it and challenge it, but it is very strong. So, and they're not reducing the damage at all. So the aim assist, sure, hopefully it might help a little bit with some of the players that aren't as good with aiming, but the players that are good at aiming regardless, this is not going to change for them. It's going to be the same. And the 3 eliminations I absolutely like because, especially for trials now, it's going to be much harder for them to have that linear shot, which is just devastating.
Honestly, I'm going to keep it a stack. If you don't have the catalyst for Vex, it's not... Honestly, Vex is still a good weapon, but it don't handle flinch really well and stuff like that, and I find that I struggle more times than not. And without that catalyst, again, you don't get that damage bump, so... that weapon needs all the little help that it can get, so I agree with the nerfs that it's getting, because if you had taken away any of its damage buffs and stuff like that, I think the gun would be pretty poo-poo. But, I mean, with the catalyst, it makes it competitive, and it makes it an exotic. It was just the linear fusion rifle mode. Thank goodness they upped it to 3, because I can land a headshot without even looking. So... yeah. So it's a good thing they bumped that up.
Yeah, so that should help a little bit then. Alright. Moving on, we have the Fighting Lion. This wasn't a specific problem, but given the increase in frustration with breach grenade launchers in Crucible, it seemed like a misstep to say, we hear you, and here's an infinite ammo version of the thing that you're frustrated about in the same patch because of the ammo economy in the game, and the Fighting Lion being a primary. It uses primary ammo and not actually special ammo, so you literally have infinite rounds with the grenade launcher, and you can be that
why didn't I ever take that in?
You can be that dude.
Never really...
But it also didn't have the
dude.
Greatest bounce. Like, it didn't really hit on impact well, and you had to bounce your shots quite often, so it wasn't the easiest thing to use per se.
Okay.
However,
took all the fun out of it.
So they are adjusting it. So they're removing the multi-hit requirement. Okay, dealing any damage will grant the buff. So now I believe you have to get a kill in order to get the buff. Increase the buff to the reload stat from 50 to 70. So the reload will be slow if you miss, but if you land damage, the Fighting Lion will still reload faster than it did before the nerf. And the buff duration is up to 7 seconds. Okay, this says
Okay.
they say it should be clear that to everyone that a full nerf isn't needed. They're just adjusting it. There's not a full rollback, and the difference between almost infinite ammo and actual infinite ammo with how the weapons are used. And in playtest where they try to abuse the infinite ammo, it was extraordinarily oppressive, much more so than they expected, given that it had a ton of ammo previously. So these are the things that they chose to do to it. We'll see what happens. It still has infinite ammo, but it's the reload on it is going to kill it a bit. So like if you're really not hitting your shots, then the reload's going to really kill you. So I think that's fair. If it's not like you can get a kill and then it's going to be boom boom, you're back with the gun and you're good to go. It's pretty much going to be still a few seconds to reload. It's going to be a heavy reload.
Yeah, I don't see a whole lot of firing lines in Crucibles, so I don't know if it's really an issue or not, but
I have never seen it in the Crucible. I have not seen it once.
I've not even once. So.
Yeah, so I couldn't.
I'm pretty surprised that anything is happening to it right now.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on, we got the Arbalist. Before anyone is like, oh, they're fixing the aiming. Nope. They are just adding intrinsic anti-barrier, which I think is fantastic. It's needed for PvE. This gives the gun some love in PvE. I just do think they need to take a look at the aim assist tracking cone, specifically on controller and console. I don't know.
I think exactly. I haven't seen a whole lot of Arbalist since Lorenz Driver took its place, so
yes, that's true.
We'll see.
But moving on, we got the Sleeper Simulant. The delta between Sleeper and the best legendary linear fusion rifle wasn't large enough to make this a compelling option, so while it benefits from the 10% damage buff already, they wanted to give it some additional love. So they increased the magazine from 3 to 4, thank you, and increased PvE damage by 6%. Odd number, but obviously they tested that number to make it that it wasn't too much. And I do like this. I like to test it out because I'd pull out my thread and needle with Vorpal over it every time. So, but perhaps with this, I'll go back. We'll see. You have your 1,000 voices, so you're just like,
Yeah, I have 1K, so nothing matters to me anymore. The gun I didn't want, but I still got nonetheless.
And now use all the time.
Good times.
The Cyros regime. Dual mode receiver has always made Cyros a worse 360 RPM auto rifle, but fixing that is a straightforward stat bump. This may make this mode dominant, but at least makes it do what it was intended to do, turning it into a high impact auto rifle. So the dual mode receiver now grants the following in addition to its current effects. You get plus 30 range and plus 3 zoom. So you're going to be hitting people across the map scout rifle style, and honestly that's how the mode was intended. So, and I never saw anybody use the mode for the slow mode on this gun ever.
No, because at the time the 600 RPMs were like meta, and that thing could go beyond 6. So
yeah,
and keep all of its range and stats and all that craziness.
Yeah.
So I still don't think it's an option over the other, but I think what would be nice if they did like the hard light thing, where if you hold the X button, you can change the mode on the fly. I think that would be pretty dope.
Is that not what you can do? I believe that's what it does.
No, you have to go. No, you have to go into the menu and change it manually.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that would be a nice little option, just to give it a switch.
Yeah.
The Cryostesia 77K, the good old stasis sidearm. Forgot about this guy.
I forgot about that thing.
Right? Given the state of stasis in PvP at the start of Season 14, they deliberately shipped this weapon in a weak state, which almost physically hurt us, but was the right decision, not wanting it to contribute to the problem, which I completely understand. Now that they've had more time to evaluate the sandbox, they've reworked this exotic to address its weakness in PvE, with the pain point being fire on release with a charge trigger, losing all ammo on firing the freezing shot. So they removed the variable trigger completely. It now fires on trigger press instead of release. This will make it feel much more responsive. The charged shot moved to special reload. Getting a final blow with a sidearm enables access to the special reload. And once the charge shot is fired, the weapon reverts back to its standard sidearm mode, and it does not cost you your entire magazine. Thank you. The charge shot also now causes an AoE, which freezes AI and slows players. Direct hit still freezes. That sounds pretty good. I'll definitely take this back out.
That's definitely a buff that's needed to happen.
I always like something that does AoE stuff, and a freezing AoE will definitely work well with my PvE build on my Hunter, so my Stasis build, so I like that. The Leviathan's Breath isn't underused, so they wanted to give it a bump, which also making its catalyst more interesting. Expect this type of catalyst tweak to become more common moving forward. The catalyst now grants the Archer's Tempo perk in addition to its other side effects. Sweet, so that means you can just fire it off a little bit quicker, which is not going to be a problem in PvP. You're not going to have the ammo to get that off anyways. In PvE, this does nothing but help it out, so I think that's cool. The Whisper of the Worm, the original DPS king, has fallen out of favor. Yes, with the delay before the damage buff kicking in, making the weapon less usable in short damage phases, and optimal in sustained damage, requiring all critical hits but not sufficiently rewarding precision. So they reduced the delay on activating Whispered Breathing from the catalyst to 2 seconds to 1.2 seconds, so much quicker. And the White Nail magazine refill was changed, was 3 from the inventory, but now pulls 2 from the inventory and 1 from thin air. So you still do get a magical bullet back now. So it's a bit more of how it used to be, but not quite. It's still going to be from your ammo, but that's always nice to have. And they straight up increased damage in PvE by 10%. So I like that. I'll definitely dust this out.
It might come back.
Yeah, getting that Whispered Breathing like basically half as fast is quite nice. So it's going to activate much quicker for those quick damage phases.
Yeah, but I still have 1K, so it doesn't matter.
And yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Maybe next season we'll get some sort of buff that increases sniper damage, you know? And then it's all of a sudden snipers are back in action.
You right.
Speaking of snipers, I can't believe I'm mentioning this right now. The Darcy! This sniper's damage has fallen behind other options that have been buffed, and its damage is depending on crits, so while requiring 100% time on the target. So they improved the ease of access and bumped up the damage. So they reduced flinch, recoil, and accuracy degradation by 50% while Personal Assistant is active. Personal Assistant now has 1 second delay before deactivating when off target, used to be instant. And they increased the damage in PvE by 20%. Wow. I'm still not going to use it, but that's cool.
I use it for the Crucible measuring stick.
Yes. It'll tell you the distance you want to see. The Malfeasance, a.k.a. the Malfeasy. For all weapons about explosions, this hand cannon's explosions were a bit underwhelming, so they increased the explosion damage by 50%. Malfeasance back on the menu, boys.
Yeah, let's do it. I think it's still a very, very decent weapon. I mean, like, yeah, it doesn't come with anything that can help it 3-tap your opponent, but that thing's got 20 in a mag, yo. Like, you can go ham with that thing. It locks down supers. Mm-hmm. It's just an all-around decent weapon, in all honesty.
Yeah, exactly. So, that should be a fun little buff. The Dead Man's Tail. We all knew this was coming. This shouldn't be a shock to anybody, okay? It needed to get nerfed. It needed it. Let's see what happens here. They say they spent some time tuning it in ways that benefits controller much more than mouse and keyboard. They don't believe this buff will improve the weapon much on mouse and keyboard, specifically touching hipfire with the catalyst. Note, this isn't actually branching the tuning between input devices, but the bits they touched are only present and are much more impactful on controller. So they increased the reticle friction fall-off distance, no effect on mouse and keyboard. There's less recoil, reduced effect on mouse and keyboard, and improved accuracy, reduced effect on mouse and keyboard. Okay, so actually not really much of a
buff on console.
Slightly a buff actually for console with controllers. Yeah, actually. I thought they were actually going to nerf it a little bit. I guess it's kind of hard to, but that thing is still going to laser beam you across the map on the PC with hipfire. So we'll see what happens. Maybe it'll do it a little bit less, but I don't play on PC, so I'll have to get feedback from other people for that one.
Yeah, for sure.
The heir apparent catalyst. There was a data error in the catalyst, resulting in it granting too much damage resistance against players. This has now been corrected, and no affected PvE. Reduced damage against players from 75% to 25%. Thank you. If you picked up a brick and you were rolling with this thing in PvE or PvP, nothing's stopping you. It would take.
We
it would
literally
take
lost trials rounds because of that thing.
You couldn't even break it with the golden gun.
Ridiculous.
It was way too cracked. Way too cracked. So that was definitely needed. Moving on, we've got the Lorentz driver. The bonus ability energy feels extraneous when the damage buff is so strong, and we're limiting the certain weapon resources of the ability energy. So they removed ability energy regeneration on picking up a telemetry. That's fine. We already get ability energy back from so many other mods and so many things. I don't really think this is a big deal.
Yeah, seriously.
Traveler's Chosen. Okay.
What
ability,
do?
I don't know. The ability energy granted from the perk was on a curve that wasn't intuitively understood. Similar to the Lorentz driver, it seemed appropriate to adjust this in PvP. These changes aren't noticeable in PvE. So now grants 10% ability energy per stack on activation. Was previously more generous on low stacks and less generous on high stacks. The average amount for 10 stacks are unchanged. And reduced stacks granted on a Guardian defeat from 3 to 2. So it sounds like it got slightly better.
I guess. I didn't think it needed a buff, but okay.
No, it looks like, yeah, you get a 10% regardless, so you still need a 10 stack to get it to 10, but yeah. Moving on, we're now entering the perks category. We're getting some perk changes. Adrenaline Junkie was not performing as well as intended, and the path of least resistance was making it live up to its name, Grenade Buckler. Ha! The dev name. I absolutely love that name. Eliminations with the weapon can add a single damage stack or extend existing ones. Grenade elimination boosts the stack immediately to ×5 and lowered the duration to compensate for the weapon activation. Okay. Well, I didn't get rid of all my Adrenaline Junkie rolls, so we'll see what happens. But it'd be really good if you could get an Adrenaline Junkie roll with Demolitionist, and they just play off of each other, and you get your grenade energy back with the Demolitionist, and then you use your grenade to get kills, to get the Adrenaline Junkie thing going, and you're helping yourself. It's like another.
I never got into Adrenaline Junkie, and I don't think I will.
It's because it doesn't seem worth it, especially depending on how often you use your grenade. But we'll see. Vorpal Weapon. Oh no. A perk that grants a 15% bonus damage against all targets I'm going to use my heavy weapon on. This was a non-choice and sucked the air out of the room for other damage perks. At the same time, it was failing its original role, giving players a reason to run primary weapons against tough targets. Was 15% damage on all weapons. It's now 10% on heavy weapons, 15% on special, and 20% on primary. No change to damage in player versus supers. I'm okay.
I'm not sure I follow.
So
they're just making Vorpal more potent on the weaker weapons.
Essentially, and a bit weaker on the heavy weapon. So it used to be 15% damage on all weapons, regardless of the archetype. But now, if any heavy weapons will only get a 10% damage. Special weapons will keep the 15% damage that it already has. So any specials, our Cartesian will be the exact same. But any primaries that have it, you'll get now a 5% damage buff. It's now up to 20. So they should feel a bit stronger.
My only thing is like Vorpal on anything in PvE has always been good. So I don't know if this was gonna change anything. Like, I guess in terms of like heavy weapons, now Vorpal isn't the immediate go-to.
Yeah, it just tries to make it some other options are viable, and you can still get that Vorpal on like your primary. So like for certain things, like if maybe an auto rifle that has it, and then you get anti-barrier auto rifle, your Vorpal is now going to do a bit more. So that's actually going to be pretty helpful in the harder runs. But yeah, they don't want to. They take it off the heavy weapons a bit. Honestly, I don't think it's going to hurt the heavy weapons that much. I think you're still just going to kill everything
seriously.
super quick. I don't think the 5% is going to be that much.
Seriously, because honestly, even if it does, it's like, what other ability? Like, we're not going to use kill clip because when you're melting a boss, I need an ad before I can do it, and then we're not going to use rampage because again, same thing. So the only other ability that I see working is firing line, which again, you need a full party of people to make that worth using, standing in the right area or whatever. I know that the area is not small by any means, but Vorpal is just like, okay, I stand here and I shoot thing in the face. I have Vorpal.
Yeah.
Yay.
So let's try to shake it up a bit. I don't think it's going to change too much. I think Vorpal's still going to be the main go-to. And
I think Vorpal's still going to be the thing to go for.
People that are used to running stacks are going to have firing line. So, like, when I know we're running a 3 or the raid, I always have my firing line then, because I know...
Yeah, I have my read for firing line.
Yeah. So, moving on, though, we got the Whirlwind Blade. Uh-oh, don't touch it. This is obviously the best sword option perk around, so while they're fine with it being good at sustained damage, they pulled it back for shorter fights. So they increased the number of stacks needed to hit maximum damage from 5 to 10.
Oh, Jesus.
I think that's a bit much. I mean, like if you're going into a master
combo,
thing,
one full one.
Yeah, you're going into a master, you gotta smack this champion 10 times before you get that Whirlwind Sesiza off. And unless you have like the mod this season that you take reduced damage with a sword while close to enemies, good luck not dying, especially the harder stuff.
Falling guillotine.
So I don't know if that was necessary. I don't know about that one.
I don't even know why you would nerf swords at all. Swords haven't been...
They keep kicking them down.
And forever.
Yeah, like they've consistently kicked them down, and I've even been okay with it because they were so strong. But I felt that they were in a good
they're
place.
Very specific. Yeah, they're very boss specific. You can't just use it on everything like we used to.
Yeah, so I think this was... I don't think this was the right one. I think... I don't know. I'll have to test it out and see how it feels, but I don't... On paper, I don't like that. Moving on, we got Pulse Monitor. They said, what if instead of on activating what feels like a fail state, it activated on a state that you'll be in almost every encounter, even if you're winning? So change the threshold for activating from 90% health to 30% shield. So this now requires much less damage to trigger for a Pulse Monitor. I'm fine with that. I never really used it anyways,
cool, I guess.
So we'll take it.
Yeah, I don't see myself using Pulse Monitor, so yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Moving on to mods. Quick Access Sling. The usage on this mod is very telling. It's extensively used on bows and breach grenade launchers, and barely used on any other weapon at all. At the same time, they've pulled down on some options for players for improving their swap speed, and wanted to make an option available for building towards that on all legendary weapons. They'll be watching to see how this feels in the wild and may revisit it later, but functionality has been changed, so it was plus 100 handling, 0.9 to ready, stow, aim down sights for 0.4 seconds after running out of ammo, and it's now 0.9 ready, stow at all times. So instead of it when you're running out of ammo, I guess it's right away. It's at all times you have this increased handling, and whatnot. So I don't really use this perk at all, so I don't know how this will feel. It says the change applies to the swap mag.
I think it's mostly used for like that. Yeah, I think it's mostly for like one of those guys who use those hand cannon bow combos. So I don't know.
Yeah, that need to do a quick swap, so you don't have to like run out of ammo now for it. So cool, we'll see. Full auto retrofit. They've seen a lot of requests for an accessibility option to allow full auto fire, particularly on fast-firing semi-automatic weapons, and they have a setting option in the works for a season after Witch Queen launches, but decided to put a stopgap to help players until they are able to ship it. So they are adding a full auto retrofit weapon mod that enables an auto while the trigger is held. So a full auto mode while the trigger is held, usable on legendary hand cannons, sidearms, scouts, and pulse rifles. This is automatically unlocked by all players as a default. So if you want full auto on your thing, it's now a thing. Snell mod.
I
guess
feel like that's going to be an issue.
Like, I don't know if it's for every single one, or if it's only for like the specific weapons that were already extremely fast firing, but having them potentially because they said that they're making it a settings option after the Witch Queen, which means it might just be an intrinsic thing for all the weapons at some point, like where you will just be playing and I could just hold down the button and my hand cannon will just shoot non-stop until I let go. Again, I don't know if that's for all the archetypes of hand cannons or not, but that's kind of interesting.
I have to wait and see how that's going to look like. Yeah, I don't know what that's going to look like, but to me already it kind of feels like a red flag, but we'll see.
Yeah. Moving on, they say in the near future, annual expansions are a good time for a system level change, and since they've got so much more playtest time over the longer duration compared to a normal season, they don't like that the desire for exotic catalysts is largely driven by the orbs of power generation they provide, and they have something in the works to let players build around that limitation. Weapon differentiation. If I have 2 void adaptive hand cannons, one from the Cyros Foundry and one from the latest raid, why do I care about one more than the other? The stats tend to be fairly close. Perk pools can be different, but they are also so many perks, and it's a stretch to say the perk pool gives the weapon its identity. We've got something shipping on all new and reissued weapons in the Witch Queen that addresses this issue directly, and are working to expand the same solution to other weapons that drop in the future. I like that. That sounds interesting. Sounds like they're going to shake up the weapons a bit more and make them much more unique, which I think is definitely necessary, where it's not just a slapped new skin and a new set of perks, but it's realistically the same gun. So I like that.
We'll see how that looks.
They mentioned in the last patch note that they're not done with the special ammo economy in PvP, and they have a further tweak coming to help bring down the amount of ammo floating around. I think that's necessary, especially with the fusion rifles this season. I myself have been using the main ingredient, and sometimes you can just run main ingredient the entire match because you just keep getting the ammo back, and it gets a little ridiculous, I'll admit.
Yeah, I'm using double SMGs right now because I'm having fun.
There you go. Exotic primary weapons have advanced ammo finder mods much faster, but they want them to feel better in harder PvE content, and they are adjusting them all to reach this goal. And they are adjusting some exotics that do consistently top in the PvP usage charts in an impressive way, some that had their perks limited to a degree that is no longer warranted, aka they're looking at you, Chaperone. So it looks like the Chaperone's going to be looked at in the future. They actually don't mention anything about the Dune Marches here, even though they did mention in a previous tweet that they will be taking a look into the Dune Marches for this update, so hopefully they'll give some insight on that, because those things definitely need to be adjusted.
Yeah, hopefully they don't touch it, because that's my main exotic.
This guy.
So please just leave it alone.
This guy. Moving on, we have a cover story with more Threads of Light, so definitely go check that out. The Threads of Light stuff is awesome. You get like its own like magazine and whole like fashion thing from all the fashion weeks. So absolutely love that. Go check that out. Last week they introduced a slate of Bungie Bounties across the globe, and they are introducing more coming out to LATAM and the UK. So take a look at your specific times there and see if there's anybody you can match with or match against to get the emblem. Moving on, they said calendar change with the Trials Capture Zone coming back this week. Trials Ranks comes with it. Extra Nightfall rewards has been shifted to next week. User research emails earlier this week. Destiny 2 players in the US and Canada were sent an email and survey about a user researching opportunity. Many players have reached out to us that they didn't receive any kind of email or any emails from them in a long time, and this could be for several different reasons, but the best one to check out is to go to your Bungie.net account, head over to the profile settings and to the email and SMS settings, and type in your new email. You can't use your old one, and check off every box. Save the change. Note that some email domains such as iCloud may not work. You should receive an email from them asking you to verify your Destiny 2 account, and if you're signed into your Bungie account, you'll be taken to a Welcome to Bungie page. If you are not signed in, you will receive an error, and you will need to sign in to Bungie.net in the first place before clicking the link in your email. This should verify your email with their system, and they're currently working to improve this experience so that they can see the verification in your profile settings. I haven't had any problems with that, but I'll go back on and check. Maybe I do need to check off a few boxes. I don't know.
I don't allow them to send me emails, so.
Well, there you go. Hotfix and Patches with some downtime. So they know the Rutabaga error has been increased. The Frenzy and Rampage perks with the Rampage spec mod are all named the same in Chinese. The Wicked Overgrowth shader isn't available for players who completed the Iron Banner quest on all the characters before the fix went out to correct the issue. If players start the Lost Lament quest on one character and complete it on another, Banshee still tries to give the Broken Blade to the first character to complete the quest that no longer exists. That's hilarious. When a Warlock performs Phoenix Dive, they can't slide for 5 seconds. That's tough. For a full list of issues, check out the article. Then we have the movies of the week, which are always fantastic every week. We have the artists of the week, which we always mention are absolutely fantastic. The artists in the Destiny community are so great. There's so many different styles too. It's always something cool to look at. So, and it's just beautiful to see like people's different interpretations sometimes of the art. And that looks like it'll do it. This will be it for this TWAB. There will still be more leading up to the 30th anniversary that will not have as much meat on the bone as this one, but they still have a lot of stuff, which is good because this one was a chunky boy. We knew this one was going to be a long one, moving in and getting into it.
It was. It was.
But I still feel like I think we got through it in a pretty good time. So we're at about the 41-minute mark here. So
41, yeah.
Yeah, but I think we will wrap it up there. Any final words? Anything else you want to mention here?
Don't nerf Dune Marchers.
As said by a Titan main, as they would. But all right, everybody, that'll do it from us, I should say. Hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. It definitely helps us grow. And have yourselves an absolutely wonderful day. And please make sure to stay hydrated. It's so important. I'm G3 Hydration.
I'm G3 Tyrant.
Have a good one.
Don't nerf it.